Alright, hello. Welcome to another video where today we're gonna be taking a look at the Unreal Tournament skins. Yes, these are some skins that were created in 2021 when they announced that Warframe will be downloadable on the Epic Games Store, and these weapons represent some weapons from the game Unreal Tournament, which is a really fun and old title that still is being played to this day. The skins themselves change the sound of the weapons, the feel of the weapons, and they're honestly just amazing. Probably the best gun skins in the entire game. You can get them for free if you log into your Warframe account until December the 23rd. So, I mean, this is the first time around, but this time I got them. And I think a lot of people are getting these for the first time and probably have no idea how to build the guns and how to use them. So, in this video, we're going to be showcasing all of the 3 guns that got the skins and builds them and how you can use them to your gameplay. And we're going to start off, as you can see, with the Dragoon, which has the flak cannon skin from the Unreal Tournament. So, this Dragoon, normally, this wouldn't be Riven modded, but I will explain. So, first of all, the Dragoon, if you kind of go for pure damage, it doesn't really do anything. Instead, on the Dragoon, you have to treat it like a Tigris, and that way you can put slash rocks onto the enemies very consistently, and do the same take I did with the Tigris, where you use Expedite Suffering to, absolutely destroy every enemy with that slash rock. So, this is what we're gonna do as well. You don't really lose that much of the damage that you deal to the enemies by doing this. And in fact, the damage of this weapon can get really nasty with this. So the Riven mode replaces a primed Bane of Grenier mode. This is usually a weapon that you will use for Grenier disruption missions, something like Kappa and Sedna, something like Olympus and Mars, all of that good stuff. You use this weapon there. Good places for farming relics in general and having fun. So, in general, this is a really decent weapon for this type of mission. It's not a weapon that you will take on your everyday mission because the damage out of the single target damage is not the greatest, but it still can do stuff. So, explanation on the build, obviously sweeping acceleration for the slash, some crits from Prime Ravage and Critical Deceleration, Frigid Blast, and the innate Toxin Valence bonus for Viral, so you can get Viral procs and then the slash proc. And then the Riven mode replaces the Bane of Grenier mode and gives me extra multi-shot and status chance. This was a really lucky roll, and I might be using this weapon a lot more now that I got this lucky roll. Then max out the multi-shot and Galvanize Savvy because it's basically the best mode for these type of missions. Galvanize Acceleration also, very underrated mode. This is one of the strongest shotgun modes out there because it increases the range of your shotgun, and the damage fall off that it normally has is increased by a lot. So you can't really see it here. I don't know where they put it, but there is damage fall off on every shotgun, and basically the further your bullet travels, the more damage you would lose, but this mod helps a lot to maintain that. Now, you may be thinking, why do you have primary dead hit? Because the shotgun can actually deal a ton of damage on its own and maintain dead hit stacks with something like a primer, which we're gonna use a decompressor. And in general, it is very good on its own to deal damage. If you don't want to go that way, you can go easily for something like Shotgun Vendetta, which will help a lot since this weapon has really high multi-shot on its own, or something like Primary Frostbite, maybe if you have something that deals cold damage, Primary Dexterity if you want to kill you with your melee weapon. You can all adapt to whatever you want. So one build for the Kuva Drakgoon. I did try to do full damage, but this one just out-damaged the other build by a lot, so we're gonna be using this Wisp and this build, which, no, not this one, yeah, which has Expedite Suffering. So, let's see how it performs in a round of Disruption, and then we can move on to the next weapon. So at the start, you kind of want to focus on getting stacks. As you can see, the damage is there to get the stacks from Deadhead on base steel path very easily, so you don't need to do anything. If the enemies get any tanky, you can simply just prime the enemies and then shoot them, and that should be fine. The Riven does have minus reload, so my reload is pretty long, which I don't mind because I'm Wisp, I can just jump and negate it. And also mods like holster to refill ammo and all that, those work really well with things like this, minus reload and all that. But yeah, as you can see, we mostly use the charge shot of this weapon. The quick firing shot doesn't really do much for us, so charge shot is by far the one that we care about using. So heavy gunner, I'm gonna just shoot him. Not even expedite suffering, because Kuva did armor strip him, so he died very quickly. And I don't know if you can hear the reload. I'm gonna shut up a bit on the next reload so you guys can hear it, the sound effect that it does for the reload. They have some custom sounds. The Stahlta has the biggest sound change out of all of them, as it changes also how the shots fire quite a lot more than the other weapons. The firing style of the weapon also changes for these, but it's not as noticeable as the Stahlta. The Stahlta definitely has the biggest change out of all three weapons. So, another demo. This one is the bailiff, the toughest one to take down. But you know, the Kuva armor stripping him does help a lot, but even if he doesn't armor strip him, that expedite suffering would absolutely destroy him anyway, so it doesn't really change how the weapon plays out. So as you can see, even though we build for some build that is focused around dealing damage over time, we still have quite a bit of upfront damage. So this is a sort of direct upgrade to something like the Tigris Prime or the Sancti Tigris, if you were a fan of that back in the day. So if you like this type of shotguns, you're definitely gonna like this one. So as you can see, 512k with 2 shots from quite far away as well. And you can simply spam the entire mag or like 3 to 4 shots on this guy and then, you know, detonate all the stacks, and that would actually help quite a bit. Also, ribbons with status duration and all that, they are really good for this type of build, as the ability will detonate all the stacks at the same time. So really good if you have that. On this last target, I'm gonna prime him and then I'm just gonna shoot him, because I think we would like to see that as well. The Nox, so it's priming and so you see 24k proc on the bleed. The damage itself is decent, and overall quite a bit of upfront damage as well as bleed damage onto this weapon. Not as much bleed focused as the Tigris, but still has quite a bit of bleed damage to back it up. And generally on this type of builds, you don't really care about the percentage on your progenitor. So even if you have something like 30%, 25% like I do, this is absolutely fine for you to complete missions and deal a ton of damage using it. Up next is going to be the Kuva Ogris. The Kuva Ogris also has one of the Unreal Tournament skins, and it is for the rocket launcher of Unreal Tournament. It is absolutely stunning looking, has different sound effects just like all the other weapons, and it's, unlike the Dragoon, is one of the most useful weapons in the entire game. The Ogris has a multi-use tool as a gun on its own, and overall is a really good weapon to have on pretty much everyone's arsenal. I think everyone should at least own one Kuva Ogris. So let's see what the Ogris, as we call it, can do. We have 3 different builds. This is a variant of the build that can be used for any type of mission. This is for Profit Taker speedrunning, which I'm going to explain, and this is for arbitration, which we're also going to showcase. So let's start with the standard issue build on the Ogris. The Ogris has Nightwatch Napalm, and it has some interesting interaction with accuracy. So first of all, Nightwatch Napalm. This leaves a ball of fire on the ground wherever your shot lands that deals damage over time to enemies, and it does it across like 6 seconds across 90% of the explosion area. Really powerful augment, considering this can re-trigger status procs. It can like re-trigger hit procs and all that, which is why we will go hit onto our Ogris and build for mostly hit damage. But the accuracy plays a big factor, because normally the Ogris is pinpoint accurate. But if you add heavy caliber, which reduces its accuracy, the accuracy drops drastically. And what this does is, when you have enough multi-shot, one of your bullets will go somewhere top left, let's say, one of your bullets will go like top right, and then one of the bullets will go close to you, bottom right, or something like that, right? So let's say with 3 multi-shot that happens. This is amazing because each one of these shots will leave a ball of fire that provides extra AoE, scales with Prime Firestorm, and this makes Kuva Ogris the weapon that has the most AoE capabilities in the entire game. And for this reason alone, it is a top tier weapon. It is a weapon that has uses across 95% of the game, and it is a weapon that can synergize with a ton of Warframes to buff its damage. In this build, however, you don't even need a Warframe to buff its damage. In this build, you can simply go something with energized munitions, any Warframe you want, and you can do very, very good things with it. So, we're gonna be using Arcane Acceleration here, this beauty, and then we're gonna showcase what this does on an average Exterminate mission. So, put Avenger as well for that extra crit, and let's go. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention for that build, I do have a Riven mod, but the Riven mode can be replaced by the hit mode of Thermite rounds. This just increases the multi-shot a bit, so it's like having Thermite rounds, but instead of status chance, you have multi-shots. Really, really strong, and the extra crit damage helps when you get buffs from Ardazakavat or Arcane Avenger, so it's definitely going to deal more damage than normal. We do have an Exterminate feature as well to test it out here, which is what we're going to do to showcase its maximum power, and you're going to be able to see what this weapon is capable of without any buffs. So in general, the Kuva Ogris has quite a bit of uses, but Exterminate and doing Exterminate really fast is probably its most known use amongst players, because you can simply go energize munition, spam its ammo to the direction of the enemies, and the enemies will die very, very quickly. So this is what we're gonna be showcasing at least. And with the Wisp, the extra fire rate does help, obviously, but it's mostly energized munitions for the extra ammo that does the trick here, and nothing else really. The damage is coming from the Ogris on its own. You can see even Eximus units, heavy units, nothing really matters here. Everything does very, very quickly. And as you can see, quite quickly, even for 1 minute, we're done with half of the mission. And it's honestly like this for any Warframe that you play. You can just put Arcane Acceleration and just play through the mission. Gets a ton of kills very, very quickly. No issues killing anybody. Quite a bit of damage from this thing. And the flames that it leaves on the ground, and you can do these missions very, very fast. So within 2 minutes, we can see that an Exterminate mission is successful very, very easily using this, even on Steel Path material, just with energized munitions and nothing else really buffing it. So definitely a weapon to look out for, and a weapon that will carry you through a majority of the missions. So you have to think about all this, having the damage, but also the extra utility. Throughout this mission, by shooting the Ogris at the ground and at random surfaces on the area, I can destroy caches, and these caches can drop Ayaton stars for new players that try to max out mods and shit. They are very, very useful. And with a bit of radar, you can collect good loots, goodies like the ship stuff, like, you know, how you can customize your ship. You can find those caches randomly in the mission, and they're very rare. With the Ogres, you cannot really miss them because you're destroying everything all the time, for example. But in general, that is a very, very strong weapon for Exterminate missions and for basically any normal mission that you want to deal with. Now, for Config B, we are looking at a pure utility build. So how do you use this? First of all, the Riven can be completely ignored here, and you should 100% use Vigilante armaments instead of the Riven. Now, this build has one purpose and one purpose only. When you are doing Profit Taker, at some point in the Profit Taker fight, the Profit Taker will shoot some pallets at the ground 2 times during the fight that you have to kill in order to progress. The old strategy to kill those pylons was to use a Zenith and simply shoot through the defensive bubble that protects them instead of having to operate your dash onto them and kill all of them separately. Now, with a bit more knowledge of the game and a bit more proficiency at speedrunning Profit Taker, Player's Strats is using this Kuva Ogris build, or a variation of this Kuva Ogris build, to simply pre-fire where these pylons would land, and the Nightwatch Napalm explosions will simply kill them on its own because it does enough damage when you combine with base damage modes and the extra multi-shot coming from these 2 modes. So all you really need is utility after that. So we have Terminal Velocity for the projectile speed and Tainted Mag for that extra ammo, so you make sure that you don't miss them. Mirage is also very helpful during that one if you want to learn that strategy, but I don't know how to do the strategy, so I will have to use a clip of somebody else that is proficient at speedrunning Profit Taker to explain this. So you will see the pylons slowly falling to the ground, and he is pre-firing them before they fall to the ground, and because of the Ogris pinpoint accuracy and the extra projectile speed using terminal velocity, he is able to completely destroy that phase and skip it altogether because of the Ogris. For the last build, we're looking at an arbitration build. So this build is gonna be useful for you for even if you're like a new player or you're a veteran, you should always have a build like this, because arbitrations are probably the most try-harded farm in the entire game right now. Ever since Steel Essence limited the amount of Kuva and the relics you could get, people started grinding arbitrations more, and arbitrations became a pretty meta farm. And the meta squad for arbitrations would be something like Saryn, Mirage, Chroma, and Wisp, or Saryn, Rhino, Wisp, and maybe another Saryn. You can do Mirage then. There is some variations, but generally you want 3 people buffing a Saryn that has a Kuva Ogris, and then the Saryn absolutely takes over the whole area. So with Saryn in mind, you don't really need much of a build to deal more damage with the Ogris itself. We're lowering that damage a lot, and instead we're investing into having more utility in the gun, and this Riven could simply be replaced by something like Ammo Gem as well if you wanted. It doesn't really matter, because your teammate is going to provide you with the ammo, your teammates are going to provide you with the damage, and your teammates are going to provide you with everything. With this build I give you here, you are able to solo carry this even if somebody is not supporting you in the arbitration, but obviously any type of support through a buffing Warframe when you're playing Saryn with this is absolutely welcome. So to showcase this, we are of course going to play Saryn. This is the Saryn build that we're going to use for this mission. This build is pretty much the same if you go solo or if you go public, but if you do go public squad, or if you do have a coordinated squad rather, you should always use power donation instead of growing power, as it's gonna give all your teammates 90% extra ability strength. Alright, so on arbitrations, by far the best mission to go for would be interception or defense mission on the Theris planet, which is the tile set with the rain and the thunders outside with a wagon that normally moves, but since you have the operative stays in one spot all the time and you don't have to do anything. But I don't know how to showcase that properly, so instead I'm gonna showcase Hydron to the best of my abilities, and hopefully we're gonna get this correctly. So what you need normally is 4-man squad. You all need to have Nida Spectres and Protea Spectres. Right now we can only drop a Nida Spectre and nothing else, so that's what I'm gonna do. Hello. So my guy here will buff me up normally with Link, and what you need to do is you need to try and aim to the best of your abilities right here with the air support charge. Unfortunately it didn't work properly, so yep, unlucky. But because you can stand on top of this, if you put it right here, you can stand up here and pre-aim all of the spawns. Now, this is not easy to do properly, and it does have a cooldown, so normally people have a strat where they stand somewhere like here and aim there, but I don't know the strat properly, so I'm not gonna do that. Instead, we're just gonna play the mission normally, and this is gonna be still path, so enemies are gonna be tankier, way tankier than what they normally are on arbitrations, but yeah. So all you want to do really is pre-aim at the spawn areas as much as possible, and the Ogris is gonna just absolutely destroy them on its own. So normally with the Protea Spectre, we would not need to run around, grab ammo, we would do a lot of damage because our teammates would be buffing us with Chroma, Rhino, or Mirage, with Total Eclipse, and in general, we would have way more damage. But as you can see, even like this is really fast and generally very insane. Oh, yeah. I'm used to arbitrations, my bad, dude. So yeah, normally this is why you also need the thing here, because you can avoid shooting at this pillar that got added by the recently, or not recently, a few years ago, and ruined the Stahlta for arbitrations a bit, and how fast it can be. Because now you actually have to chase people at their spawns if they get stuck there, but generally it's still a very good Stahlta to do this with. And the waves can go down very quickly. So let's keep doing that all the time. And honestly, even like this, just moving around a bit more instead of having the air support charge cheese over here that you can stand up here and shoot other people, this is still absolutely fine to do if you don't mind moving a bit more. The other strat is just way more consistent, shooting at the spawns all the time. And because of the negative accuracy, it's also a bit more consistent, since you are gonna be hitting a lot more of the spawns without even needing to aim towards the spawns and aiming at the general direction. So there is no actual spot that you need to aim, you just need to aim at the general direction, and the Ogris is gonna do everything else on its own, which is always really nice to have that quality of life. Now the waves on Steel Path should be going a bit slower, and that is obviously because of higher enemy density, higher tankiness of enemies, and obviously me running it solo. But and with this, we still have quite a good time on taking every wave, which did get ruined a bit by this platform moving upwards, but you know, burgers can be choosers. The showcase is what matters, and you can see this is absolutely insane. And this is why this is the meta setup to use onto arbitrations and these type of missions. So if you want to learn more about arbitrations, you shouldn't even search me for content or like look arbitration guides out there or anything. There is an arbitration Discord, and that's all you really need if you ever want to do content on arbitrations on this type and get a ton of Viruses. And so this is just a quick showcase to help you out with you know, seeing how this works and all of that. And I think this did a pretty good job showcasing this playstyle. Also, something funny, I noticed that while the mission had a timer of 4 minutes 58 seconds, my OBS timer was less, which is very interesting considering the mission timer is supposed to go the same as a normal timer. That is something that is very weird. Anyways, so that is it for the Kuva Ogris. The Kuva Ogris, absolutely one of the best weapons in the game. I ranked it top 3 for a reason, and you should definitely give it a shot and have it on your arsenal. Now, for the last but not least, my favorite weapon. I'm gonna take Wisp for this one for obvious reasons, but it is none other than the Stahlta. The Stahlta, my most used weapon. I have 2 of them because I had to make a guide video on it, which you probably have already seen, but I will leave that in the description if you want to see more stuff about the builds that you can go on this weapon. But this skin is... damn. The shock rifle skin from Unreal Tournaments onto the Stahlta. First of all, I couldn't have picked a better gun to have the shock rifle skin in. And second of all, the sounds, the explosions, everything about it is so amazing. It's not perfect. There is a slight weird thing happening with the explosion of the Altfire where it feels like there is no explosion when there is. You just have to look up for it very clearly. But overall, as you can see, big lover of the gun, 5 builds, and I have a video showcasing all of these builds, but overall, all you need on Stahlta is maximum damage. So you can go with this weapon with Viral, you can go with Magnetic, you can go with Blast, but you can only go with those 3 if you want your secondary fire to be as powerful as mine. Blast is really funny because your blast procs with Stahlta will absolutely destroy everyone, especially when paired with Zada's Whisper. My Riven mode only allows me to go viral right now, so I will be showcasing my viral proc Stahlta build, and if I do have one right here, I don't see one, maybe I will have it on the second Stahlta, but there is a really strong build for the primary fire that does allow you to use Zada's Whisper and Prime Shred. Oh, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so primary fire build, Prime Shreds, and then because of the innate punch through of this weapon, even though it doesn't show here, but it normally has a 1.2 punch through. It's at the moment bugged and it doesn't show. You can easily get a lot of projectiles bouncing on the disruption target and killing him very quickly, which we're also gonna showcase. But first of all, let's showcase a standard Stahlta alt fire build with compressor and showcase how much damage that can do, because it is really funny. First of all, I think it would be really fun if we just showcase the sounds themselves. So really satisfying. Here's the alt fire. So as you can see, the explosion is a bit delayed and you can't really hear it that well, but if you look for it, it's there, and the reload is awesome. In general, this weapon sounds and feels amazing when you shoot it, especially with the skin, but even without the skin, it already sounded really good, and it's my favorite weapon because of the aesthetics and the sound that it has, but also the damage of the Stahlta is through the roof. Like, as a single target weapon that doesn't have range limitations like the Queller has on its alt fire, the damage can really go nuts. So both firing modes, by the way, have multiplicative CO, which means that the more status procs an enemy has, the more your damage is going to be multiplied onto that enemy. So really strong as a weapon for those reasons. Here's my synthesis target, and that was my synthesis target. That was without Eclipse as well, so yeah. The target there is probably way more tanky than any of the disruption targets we're gonna fight, but I do think that you guys would probably still want to see the disruption targets so you get an idea of how strong this weapon really is, so it will be my pleasure to showcase you. So let's go. Charges coming from this way, one of them at least. I lost my buff, but that's fine. 5 million. It dealt so much damage that the sound kind of bugged. Did you hear that? That was kind of funny. Anyways, gonna go to the other targets. Still have the stacks for Deadhead. So 4 million again. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So this is just an alt fire build. Usually, you know, alt fire far out damages the primary fire, but you can still use the primary fire just fine on this build, and it does a lot of damage. This is not the best build for primary fire, as primary fire does lack a bit of status chance with this, but you can still deal quite a lot by doing it. So, gonna get a dead hit sack. And I'm just gonna use primary fire onto this guy after I prime him without any Eclipse. So as you can see, just 3 shots with the armor strip from my Kavat, and he goes down instantly. For the last person, I'm just gonna use Eclipse and try to prime, then shoot the enemy with the alt fire with just the Stahlta, not using the compressor at all, because the primary fire can be used a bit for priming the enemy with some viral procs before you shoot him with the alt fire if you don't want to use a primer, and that would be enough for base still buff by a huge margin to absolutely destroy them. So, yo, this guy is fast. Okay, well, 15 million damage without priming. It's pretty ridiculous. This weapon one-shots quite literally everything you might see. If you're playing solo, especially, you get an Acolyte, they will absolutely destroy. They will get destroyed instantly. It's insane. So, I think it would be pretty cool to showcase this off, so I'm gonna play a little while more to get an Acolyte, to showcase the Acolyte one-shot from this weapon's capabilities. And if you're wondering, yes, I still do think absolutely that this is the best weapon in the game. In my opinion, it is. It has so much potential. You can use it for so many ways, and yeah. It's just great. It has the amount of damage that would make snipers fear for their life, and that damage is then dealt into an AoE. And then on top of that, it has multiplicative CO on both firing modes, so you have a primary fire and a single target damage that is quite unmatched, while also having the utility of having good ammunition, really good reload speed, and utility in terms of breaking stuff like crates and doing missions quite fast, while still having the firepower, which is why I do consider this weapon to be the best. When I do consider weapons damage, like the turret and like everything else, I consider ease of use. The turret being an encounter weapon, you know, I still need to charge it as an encounter weapon and do everything, while on this one, I can simply pull it out, shoot it, enemy goes boom boom, and that's it. But, you know, you might be saying, okay, but turret literally takes one shot to charge the encounter form, which I do agree with you, but in a public squad, sometimes, especially when people try hard with things like Titania and Thermal Sunder, you are not gonna be in the ability to charge the encounter form of this weapon even the very first time. And when you do, the mission is probably already over, so instead, something like the Stahlta, something you can simply pick up and use right at that moment, will be way better. Also, where the hell is this Acolyte? Is this afraid to meet me, or what? But yeah, it's quite ridiculous the amount of damage this weapon can deal. Like, even without priming anything, I'm just shooting directly at him with the primary fire while building for the secondary fire. It absolutely destroys the disruption target. I love it. There we go, finally we get the Acolyte, so I can do the Acolyte, do the last disruption target, and then go for the last build that requires Zada's Whisper and is focused around the primary fire. So, we get Malice. And down goes Malice. And that's how Acolytes usually go when you're solo and you're playing the Stahlta. You just shoot them, and as long as it's a direct hit, they are one-shotted. Every single time. I've fought Acolytes up to level 400 and nothing changed. Still the same thing. So this guy, I'm gonna try just shooting him with secondary fire. I don't think it's gonna one-shot him, but the second one is absolutely gonna one-shot him, so yay. And you can see the difference that the multiplicative CO makes there, which, you know, one bullet from the compressor with the 3 to 4 status effects that the guy has are absolutely enough to one-shot him, and even with the Stahlta Altfire, the second Altfire deals around 100 and something % more damage than the first one, so really big difference. One last build on the second Stahlta here that I'm going to showcase, and this one will abuse Zada's Whisper interaction that the Stahlta has, because that every projectile weapon that also has innate punch through, or a lot of punch through in general, something like Prime Shred plus this, giving me 3.4 punch through, will be used and can be used to deal a ton of damage to the enemy without much need for a primer or anything. And it gets pretty ridiculous. So we're gonna showcase that with our Zada build here. And I think that's gonna be the end of the video. After that, I don't think I will need to showcase anything else. And you guys can have fun with the all the new skins, I guess. For many people like myself, these are new skins, but for a lot of people, these are old skins as well. But it's a nice refresh to the guns. This one actually doesn't have the gun skin, so that is a small fuck up for me. But honestly, yeah, I will go back and use the gun skin. Alright, so with this one we're abusing Zada plus Bane mods plus weak spots, so we're gonna be very careful with our gun usage, and usually when you do this you don't want something like the compressor. You would prefer a primer like the Tysis that is way more accurate to get those headshots with the Zada's Whisper proc, which I'm probably not gonna get now that I'm getting the compressor, but just know that the damage that this will deal can be increased a lot by using a better primer than the compressor in this scenario, where the compressor, when you do have Zada's Whisper, kinda sucks and you need to work around it. So on the first target we're gonna see the absolute max potential of this and how much damage it deals, and on the rest of the targets we're probably gonna see no priming and just me using Zada's Whisper. So oh, I kinda fucked up actually. So this one will be just Zada's Whisper, no priming. So do that, and as you can see, with just 3 bullets, no priming whatsoever, just armor shipping from the cap, and the guy dies instantly. And if I shoot this guy once, you immediately understand what's going on. 4.3 million from the Zada's Whisper proc, because the bullet is hitting many times on the target when you're hitting him only once. And if you do headshot him, then they're gonna take a ton more damage from that weak point, because Zada multiplies damage to weak points, which is why I said that compressor is not very good with Zada's Whisper. So this is by far the best build you can go on the Stahlta if you don't want to go level cap disruption. It is extremely strong, but in general the gun can do level cap disruption without this, but it's nice to have build variety in this game, always. So as you can see, with Zada's Whisper active and priming, we can one-shot this guy. So first shot deals nothing, but second shot, because of Zada's Whisper proc and the interaction, you see his health bar is absolutely diminishing extremely quickly, so it is really ridiculous what this weapon can do. Now, this build is not as strong for taking down acolytes, obviously, but it can still get the work done. The primary fire is not that good at taking down acolytes, but definitely the secondary fire to do that. Okay, let's do it. And there it goes. It's quite a bit ridiculous. I have seen this deal with pretty much anything that you can throw at it. Any kind of weapon that gets this interaction is just absolutely ridiculous, and Stahlta is no different. You can do this interaction on the Aeolak as well, but because the Aeolak doesn't have that innate punch through, except you have a punch through on your Riven, it's not gonna be as strong as this. If you do have punch through on your Riven and you use both punch through and prime shield, then you can get the Aeolak to do really nasty things, just like we saw in this one. That's gonna be it for the 3 guns. So once again, we have the Stahlta Sock Rifle skin, the Kuva Ogris, what was it? The Rocket Launcher skin? Yeah, this is the Rocket Launcher. And finally, the Flak Cannon from Kuva Drakgoon. All of these skins are absolutely beautiful, and they are on guns that are not just usable, but most of them, or 2 out of 3 of them, top tier guns actually. And the Drakgoon itself is really good too, and really funny if you can get some build arounds. But I do think Stahlta and Ogris are probably must-have weapons for everyone's arsenal to use with the amount of usability they both have. So I thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next one.